It's 1959, and the world is gripped by the icy tendrils of the Cold War. Yet, for Soviet citizens, it was a time of immense pride. The newspapers trumpet the triumphs of the People's Revolution. Luna 1 soaring past the moon, a testament to Soviet technological prowess, while the successful conclusion of the Third Soviet Antarctic expedition fills hearts with patriotic fervor. Amidst this backdrop of progress and achievement, 10 young souls from the Ural Polytechnical Institute prepare for an adventure. 8 men and 2 women, their eyes bright with the promise of exploration, pack their bags for a hiking expedition into the North Ural mountain range. Little do they know that their journey will become one of the most perplexing mysteries of the 20th century. As they set out, the group is blissfully unaware that 9 of them will never return, their fate forever entwined with the enigma of the Dyatlov Pass incident. The mountains loom ahead, beautiful and treacherous, guarding secrets that will baffle investigators for generations to come. The crisp mountain air fills the lungs of 10 ambitious young hikers as they embark on their journey. Their eyes gleam with determination, each step bringing them closer to the coveted Grade 3 hiker certificate, the pinnacle of achievement for Soviet outdoor enthusiasts. At the helm of this expedition is Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old radio engineering student with a passion for conquering nature's most formidable challenges. His chosen route to Otorten Mountain is not for the faint of heart. It's classified as the most difficult possible, a true test of their skills and resolve. As the group departs from the small village of Vyzhy on January 27, 1959, the air is thick with excitement and a hint of trepidation. Igor, ever the responsible leader, informs the local sports club of their plans, promising to send a telegram upon their return by February 12th. Little do they know that this simple act of precaution will soon become a haunting detail in a chilling mystery. The expedition begins smoothly, the sound of laughter and friendly banter echoing through the snow-laden forests. However, fate intervenes on the second day when one of their own succumbs to debilitating knee and joint pain. With heavy hearts, the group bids farewell to their comrade, who reluctantly turns back. Now 9 in number, the remaining hikers press on, their spirits undampened by the setback. They forge ahead into the unforgiving wilderness, blissfully unaware that they are walking into the pages of history. For beyond this point, the laughter falls silent, and the mountains keep their secrets close. As days pass and no word comes from the group, an uneasy silence descends upon Vyzhy. The telegram they await will never arrive, and the fate of these 9 brave souls will soon become one of the most perplexing mysteries of the century. As February 12th dawns and fades without a word from Dyatlov's group, a seed of worry begins to take root in Vyzhy. At first, it's dismissed. After all, delays are not uncommon in the unpredictable mountain terrain. But as days stretch into a week, that seed of worry blossoms into full-fledged concern. By February 20th, the silence becomes deafening. Anxious friends and relatives can no longer ignore the gnawing fear in their hearts. The Institute springs into action, organizing search teams comprised of determined volunteers, teachers and students united in their mission to find their missing comrades. Days later, the gravity of the situation becomes apparent as the army and local police join the search. The whir of snowmobiles and the distant hum of planes and helicopters break the mountain's eerie silence, a testament to the growing desperation of the rescue efforts. It's not until February 26th, amidst the unforgiving slopes of Kolevato, ominously known as Dead Mountain in the local Mansi dialect, that the first chilling discovery is made. The name, derived from the mountain's eerie lack of wildlife, seems to take on a more sinister meaning as the searchers stumble upon the group's abandoned campsite. What they find sends shivers down their spines. The tent, half buried under a blanket of snow, stands as a silent witness to an inexplicable event. Its side is torn open from the inside, as if the occupants had frantically clawed their way out. A trail of footprints tells a bewildering tale. 9 sets of tracks, leading away from the relative safety of the tent and down the treacherous slope, wearing nothing but what they had slept in. Following this ghostly trail, the searchers' hearts sink as they discover 3 bodies, including that of the expedition leader, Igor Dyatlov. His frozen form, found partway back to the camp, speaks of a desperate attempt to return, a final act of leadership in the face of an unknown threat. As night falls over the mountain, the rescue team huddles in somber silence. The mystery deepens with each passing moment, and the icy wind seems to whisper secrets that remain just out of reach. What could have driven these experienced hikers to flee into the deadly cold? What terror awaited them on Dead Mountain? The icy wind howls through the trees as the search party presses on, their hearts heavy with each grim discovery. 3 bodies, including Dyatlov's, lie scattered across an 100-foot stretch of the unforgiving slope. But the mountain isn't done revealing its secrets. At the tree line, where the forest meets the barren mountainside, 2 more bodies emerge from the snow. The sight sends a collective shudder through the rescuers. These poor souls, clad only in their underwear, lie motionless beside the remnants of a small fire. Their hands and feet bear the angry marks of desperate attempts to stave off the cold, burns etched into frozen flesh. A nearby tree stands as a mute witness to their struggle. Its branches are snapped and broken to a height of 18 feet, a haunting testament to one member's frantic climb, perhaps in a final bid to survey their surroundings or signal for help. The inquest would later conclude that these 5 succumbed to hypothermia, their bodies losing heat faster than they could generate it. But this clinical explanation does little to soften the tragedy of their final moments. As spring begins to thaw the mountain's icy grip, the search continues. It's not until May 4th that the remaining 4 expedition members are found. Their resting place, a shallow ravine, 250 feet into the forest. Buried under 13 feet of snow, these bodies tell a slightly different tale. They're better dressed than their companions, suggesting a heart-wrenching act of survival, stripping clothes from those already lost to keep themselves alive just a little longer. But even this desperate measure wasn't enough to save them. The cause of death for these 4 diverges from their companions, adding another layer to the already perplexing mystery. As the investigators examine the bodies, it becomes clear that they didn't all perish at the same time, hinting at a prolonged struggle against whatever force or circumstance drove them to this fate. As the rescue team stands in somber silence, the questions multiply. What unseen terror could have driven these experienced hikers to such desperate measures? What happened in those final, terrifying moments? The wind whispers through the trees, carrying secrets that may never be fully revealed, leaving the Dyatlov Pass incident to become one of the most enduring mysteries of the 20th century. As the investigation deepens, the mystery of Dyatlov Pass takes an even darker turn. The medical examiner's findings send a chill through even the most seasoned investigators. 3 of the group members bear injuries that defy explanation. Bone fractures so severe, they're likened to those seen in high-speed car crashes. The thought that such force could be exerted by anything in these remote mountains is almost too terrifying to contemplate. A particularly gruesome detail emerges about one of the female hikers. Her eyes, tongue, and part of her lips are missing, a discovery that fuels wild speculation. However, the experts attribute this to natural decomposition, noting her face-down position in running water beneath the snow. Yet, this clinical explanation does little to dispel the aura of horror surrounding the incident. The official inquest, perhaps overwhelmed by the bizarre circumstances, settles on a maddeningly vague conclusion. Compelling natural forces were responsible for the hikers' deaths. But this explanation feels hollow in the face of the evidence. The scene painted by the investigators is one of desperation and confusion. None of the expedition members were properly dressed for the brutal cold. Their footwear, or lack thereof, tells a story of hasty departure. Some with only 1 shoe, others barefoot or in socks, stumbling through the snow in a frenzied escape from an unseen threat. As theories proliferate, certain facts remain undisputed. The incident occurred at night, in temperatures well below freezing, and all 9 hikers were dead before or shortly after dawn the next day. But these facts only deepen the mystery. What could have driven them from their tent in such a state? Some speculate about an attack by the local Mansi tribesmen. But this theory quickly loses ground. The Mansi, known for their peaceful nature, were not aggressive or territorial. The idea of them launching a brutal assault on the hikers seems at odds with everything known about their culture. As investigators and theorists grapple with the evidence, the Dyatlov Pass incident transforms from a tragic accident into something far more sinister. Each new detail raises more questions than answers, and the mountains seem to guard their secrets jealously. The wind still whispers through the pass, carrying with it the echoes of that fateful night. For those who dare to listen, it seems to ask, what force, natural or otherwise, could have wrought such terror? What unspeakable event unfolded on those snow-covered slopes? The answers, if they exist at all, remain tantalizingly out of reach, leaving the Dyatlov Pass incident as one of the most chilling and perplexing mysteries of our time. The wind carries whispers of theories through the Ural Mountains, each one grasping at the truth of the Dyatlov Pass incident, only to slip away like mist. The idea of a Mansi attack, once considered, dissolves under scrutiny. The Kolevato, or Dead Mountain, holds no sacred value for the tribe. Its barren slopes, poor in game, rarely draw the Mansi hunters. The mountain stands silent, indifferent to human concerns, its secrets locked away in ice and stone. Robbery, too, falls flat as a motive. The campsite, when discovered, still held the group's valuables, untouched by human hands. No foreign tracks marred the pristine snow, save for those of the ill-fated hikers. The brutal injuries inflicted on some of the victims speak of a force beyond human capability, a chilling fact that sends shivers down the spines of even the most hardened investigators. As the theories swirl, the possibility of an animal attack briefly surfaces, only to be swiftly dismissed. While the forests to the south harbor fearsome predators, brown bears and wolves among them, the desolate northern slopes where the hikers met their fate are alien territory to such beasts. The absence of animal tracks or telltale wounds on the bodies further erodes this hypothesis, leaving it to crumble like snow from a branch. Yet one theory persists, clinging to the realm of possibility, an avalanche. At first glance, it seems to fit. The tent, found crushed beneath a heavy blanket of snow, tells a tale of nature's overwhelming force. The fact that it was cut open from the inside paints a vivid picture of panic and desperate escape. But even as this theory takes hold, doubts begin to creep in, like the encroaching cold. Questions linger, unanswered, in the frigid air. If an avalanche struck, why were there no other signs of its passage? How could it explain the bizarre and varied fates of the hikers? As night falls over the Urals, the mountains keep their counsel. The wind whistles through the pass, carrying with it the echoes of that fateful night. For those who listen closely, it seems to whisper of terrors beyond human understanding, of forces that defy explanation. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains a puzzle, its pieces scattered across the snowy slopes like the belongings of the lost hikers. Each theory, each speculation, brings us no closer to the truth. The mountain watches, impassive, as generations of investigators and curious minds attempt to unravel its mystery. But some secrets, it seems, are destined to remain buried in the endless white of the Ural winter. The avalanche theory, once a beacon of hope for those seeking answers, begins to crumble under the weight of scrutiny. Like a mirage in the frozen landscape, it dissolves upon closer inspection, leaving behind only more questions. True, the tent was found cut open from the inside, a haunting image of desperate escape. The tracks leading away from the camp tell a story of panic, of 9 souls fleeing into the night with an urgency that defies explanation. But as investigators dig deeper, the avalanche hypothesis loses its footing on the icy slopes of logic. The snow piled against the tent, once thought to be evidence of nature's wrath, is revealed as nothing more than the patient work of a month's worth of drifting snow. The tracks fleeing hikers, still clearly visible weeks after their fateful flight, stand as mute testimony against the avalanche theory. How could such delicate imprints survive the crushing force of thousands of tons of snow? Experts turn their gaze to the land itself, reading the story written in rock and ice. The topography surrounding the campsite whispers secrets that contradict the avalanche narrative. The slope, not steep enough to birth such a catastrophe, has never known the thunder of sliding snow. No avalanche has ever been recorded in this area, the mountain peaks standing as silent sentinels, unmoved by time or tragedy. As the avalanche theory fades like mist in the morning sun, darker speculations begin to take root. Whispers of secret Soviet military projects echo through the valleys. Could a parachute bomb, gone astray from nearby tests, have detonated near the campsite? The imagination paints a vivid scene. 9 sleeping hikers, jolted awake by a distant boom, their minds immediately leaping to the conclusion of an impending avalanche. Panic sets in, driving them into the lethal embrace of the winter night. But perhaps the most chilling theory of all lurks in the shadows of the atomic age. Rumors swirl of radioactivity detected on the abandoned clothes of the hikers. This invisible, insidious threat adds a new layer of horror to the already perplexing mystery. What unseen forces were at play on that fateful night? As the sun sets once more over the Dyatlov Pass, the mountains keep their secrets close. The wind whispers through the trees, carrying with it the echoes of theories and speculations, each one grasping at the truth only to slip away like snow through fingers. The mystery deepens with each passing day, a riddle wrapped in snow and silence, waiting for the one who can finally unravel its icy enigma. As night descends on the Ural mountains, the whispers of conspiracy grow louder, echoing through the valleys and crevices of the unforgiving landscape. The discovery of radioactivity on some of the hikers' clothes, but not others, opens a Pandora's box of dark possibilities. A chilling scenario unfolds in the minds of those seeking answers. What if, earlier that fateful day, a few members of the expedition stumbled upon something they were never meant to see? A secret military project, hidden in the vast wilderness, could explain the selective contamination. The imagination paints a terrifying picture of young adventurers fleeing into the night, pursued by shadowy figures determined to protect state secrets at any cost. But this theory, like so many others, raises more questions than it answers. Why would the investigation team check for radiation in the first place? It's hardly standard procedure when looking into the deaths of young hikers. This peculiar detail hangs in the air like a mist, refusing to dissipate, hinting at knowledge or suspicions the authorities aren't sharing. The specter of a government cover-up looms large over the case. It's true that Soviet officials took an unusually keen interest in the investigation, their presence a constant reminder of the state's watchful eye. The pressure from above to conclude the investigation quickly was palpable, but was this simply the modus operandi of an oppressive regime, or something more sinister? Adding fuel to the conspiratorial fire, the Soviet Army's decision to close the area for 3 years following the incident seems like a red flag waving in the face of truth seekers. What were they hiding? What traces did they fear might be discovered if the area remained open? As the years pass, the Dyatlov Pass incident becomes a breeding ground for theories, each more outlandish than the last. The truth, if it exists at all, seems buried deeper than the snow that claimed the lives of those 9 unfortunate souls. The wind howls through the pass, carrying with it the echoes of unanswered questions. In the distance, the mountains stand impassive, guardians of secrets that may never see the light of day. The legacy of that night in 1959 lives on, a chilling reminder of the unknown forces that lurk in the wilderness, both natural and man-made. As darkness falls, one can almost imagine the ghosts of the 9 hikers still wandering the slopes, forever seeking the answers that elude the living. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains an open wound in the annals of history, a mystery that continues to captivate and terrify in equal measure, defying explanation and inviting speculation with each passing year. The winds of mystery continue to swirl around the Dyatlov Pass incident, carrying with them new theories and speculations. The Soviet Army's decision to close the area for 3 years after the tragedy only fueled the flames of conspiracy. Safety reasons, they claimed, but in the shadowy world of Cold War secrecy, such explanations ring hollow. What traces did they fear might be discovered? What secrets did the snow-covered slopes hold that were too dangerous for prying eyes? As the years pass, a new theory emerges from the realm of science, as colorful and intriguing as the aurora borealis that sometimes graces these northern skies. It speaks of the Kármán vortex street effect, a phenomenon where wind flowing around the mountain creates a series of alternating vortices. This, some claim, can produce infrasound, sound waves below the lower limit of human hearing, yet capable of inducing profound psychological effects. Picture the scene. 9 young hikers, huddled in their tent on the mountain slope. Suddenly, they're gripped by an inexplicable sense of panic. their minds and bodies racked by an unseen force. In their distress, they flee into the night, leaving behind the relative safety of their camp. Disoriented by darkness and driven by mass hysteria, they separate, each meeting their tragic fate alone in the unforgiving wilderness. It's a theory that captures the imagination, painting a picture of nature's hidden forces turning against the unsuspecting adventurers. Yet, like so many explanations before it, the infrasound theory rests on shaky scientific ground, raising more questions than it answers. But what if the truth is simpler, more human? A new hypothesis emerges, one that speaks to the universal experience of youth. College students, after all, are known for their propensity to party, to let off steam after days of grueling exertion. Could the Dyatlov Pass incident be nothing more than a celebration gone terribly wrong? The imagination conjures images of laughter echoing across the snowy slopes, of young people reveling in their freedom and accomplishments. But then, in an instant, the mood shifts. A misstep, a dare taken too far, or simply the unforgiving nature of their environment, turning a moment of joy into a nightmare. As night falls once more on the Ural Mountains, the wind seems to whisper these theories through the trees. The truth remains elusive, slipping away like shadows in the moonlight. Each explanation, from government conspiracies to forces of nature to youthful misadventure, adds another layer to the mystery that shrouds the Dyatlov Pass. The mountains stand silent, impassive witnesses to the tragedy and the endless speculation that followed. They hold their secrets close, challenging each new generation to unravel the enigma of that fateful night in 1959. And as the stars wheel overhead, one can almost hear the echoes of those 9 voices, forever young, forever lost in the vastness of the Ural wilderness. As the investigation delves deeper, the possibility of a party gone wrong emerges from the shadows of speculation. It's a tale as old as time. Young people, far from home, seeking release from the pressures of their arduous journey. But could such a mundane explanation truly account for the horrors of Dyatlov Pass? The investigators, their faces grim in the harsh mountain light, briefly entertain this notion. They paint a picture of revelry turned tragic, vodka flowing freely, perhaps even illicit substances clouding judgment. In this version of events, the night air rings with laughter before it's cut short by fatal missteps. But almost as quickly as it's considered, this theory is dismissed. The investigators speak of the hikers' characters with a reverence that seems to transcend mere respect for the dead. Good moral character, they insist, their voices echoing off the indifferent mountain slopes. No history of alcohol or drug abuse. The only spirits present, they claim, were purely medicinal. A flask found full and untouched, a silent testimony to the group's abstinence. Yet, a whisper of doubt lingers in the frigid air. In the paranoid atmosphere of the Soviet era, would the authorities not prefer a narrative of heroic tragedy over one of youthful indiscretion? The image of dedicated young communists falling victim to nature's fury certainly paints a more palatable picture than that of decadent youth succumbing to their own excesses. As theories rise and fall like the winter sun, one stubborn fact remains. Something drove these 9 souls from their tent into the deadly embrace of the winter night. Whether startled or forced, they fled with an urgency that defies easy explanation, leaving behind the safety of shelter and warm clothing. The cut in the tent, once thought to be evidence of a frantic escape from within, now comes under renewed scrutiny. Could this too be a misinterpretation, another false lead in a case full of dead ends? In the absence of a unifying theory, the facts paint a grim picture of the hikers' final moments. They split into 3 groups, each meeting a different but equally tragic fate. One group, perhaps driven by desperation or a misplaced sense of hope, attempted to return to the campsite. Their frozen forms, discovered later, tell a silent tale of a battle against the elements that they were destined to lose. As night falls once more on Dyatlov Pass, the wind seems to carry the echoes of that fateful night. The mountains stand silent, guardians of secrets that may never be fully revealed. Each theory, each speculation, adds another layer to the mystery, like fresh snow covering old tracks. The truth of what happened on that February night in 1959 remains as elusive as ever, a riddle written in ice and shadow. And as the stars wheel overhead, the 9 hikers of Dyatlov Pass remain forever young, forever lost. Their story a chilling reminder of the mountain's power and the depths of human mystery. As the investigation reaches its chilling conclusion, the fate of the 9 hikers unfolds like a tragic play in 3 acts. The freezing Ural night becomes the stage for their final, desperate struggles. One group, driven by hope or desperation, attempts to retrace their steps back to the campsite. Their bodies, later discovered, tell a silent tale of a battle against the elements, a battle they were destined to lose. Another group chooses to make their stand, building a fire in a valiant effort to stave off the cold. But even their wilderness skills prove no match for the brutal, unforgiving temperatures. The flames flicker and die, much like the lives of those huddled around them. The last group's fate is perhaps the most mysterious. In what must have been pitch-black darkness, they flee through the forest, only to meet their end at the bottom of a small ravine. Their bodies bear witness to severe impact damage, raising haunting questions. Did they simply fall, victims of the treacherous terrain and their own panic? Or had they, in a last display of their mountaineering knowledge, attempted to build a snow shelter that became their tomb? The image of a snow cave collapsing, crushing its occupants one by one under its immense weight, is a nightmare that lingers in the imagination. Yet, even as the investigation draws to a close, new anomalies emerge. A photograph of the hikers' tent, meant to house all 10 original members of the expedition, shows a shelter that seems barely large enough for half that number. This discrepancy adds yet another layer to the already impenetrable mystery. In honor of the expedition's ill-fated leader, the area surrounding the incident site is renamed Dyatlov Pass. It stands now as a memorial not just to Igor Dyatlov, but to all 9 souls lost on that fateful night. Their story, etched into the very landscape, ensures that they will never be forgotten. As the years pass, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains an open wound in the annals of mountaineering history. Each theory, each speculation, seems to raise more questions than it answers. The mountains keep their secrets, the wind whispering tales that we may never fully understand. And so, dear listeners, we turn to you. What forces, natural, supernatural, or all too human, do you believe drove these hikers to their doom? What chain of events could have led to such a tragic and baffling end? As the snow continues to fall on Dyatlov Pass, covering old tracks and creating new mysteries, we invite you to share your thoughts, your theories, your attempts to make sense of the senseless. For in the end, perhaps it is this very mystery that ensures the 9 hikers of Dyatlov Pass will never truly die. They live on in our questions, our speculations, our endless fascination with the unknown. And as long as we continue to seek answers, their story will continue to echo through the mountains, a chilling reminder of the power of nature and the depths of human resilience in the face of the unknown.